Hello, welcome to the Single African Market Program, the Christmas edition of the Single African Market Program, and we have to show a lot of appreciation to all of you for being with us since July when we began this program to bring you every action and activity regarding the vision of the continent of Africa to create one market for itself and also for its citizens. We say Merry Christmas to all of you, a prosperous New Year 2022, and we believe that 2022 is going to be more action year because the Secretariat, the AfCFTA Secretariat, has assured us that we are going to start trading at 87.6% negotiated rules of origin. So we're going to bring you a lot of activities around the implementation processes, not just in Ghana, the rest of the continent of Africa, what Nigeria is doing, what Togo is doing. Everywhere we will be there to let you know how this whole implementation processes are going to go getting into next year. This week we are dedicating it to the Secretary General of the AfCFTA Secretariat, who is going to capture some bit of what has taken place in 2021 and also bring you what to expect in the year 2022. We had the first part of that particular interview last week, and we had a lot from the SG. This week we are taking the last part of that particular interview, and the SG is going to tell us what we are to look out for in the year 2022, including what I've hinted, that at 87.6% negotiated rules of origin, we are going to start trading, and that the continent is not going to wait. We will also bring you an engagement between the AfCFTA National Coordination Office in Ghana as well as the commercial banks in Ghana. Now, about 2 weeks ago, Dr. Farid Atta, who is the head of the National Coordination Office of the AfCFTA, hinted to us on the Single African Market Program that government is going to support businesses come next year, businesses who are going to trade under AfCFTA. And so that engagement with the commercial banks to support these businesses has already begun, and we will tell you more about it. For now, though, the interview with the Secretary General, WAMKELE MENE. Let's talk about the transit countries. 2-3 days ago, the WTO, for instance, launched a manual for LLDCs and how transit countries can support the activities of LLDCs, because relatively they are the back end and they suffer some way somehow. One of the things is that can we have the customs information in some of these landlocked developing countries harmonized with those within the transiting countries? And the other thing has also been that even modes of payment. So if you have somebody from Mali who needs to clear his goods from the ports of Tema, for instance, would have to convert their monies from CFA into the Ghanaian cedi, and by the time they do that, they've reduced the value of the money. And that makes the cost of trading between the two countries very expensive. How is the entire AfCFTA or the entire agreement going to help the LLDCs, for instance?
There's an infrastructure issue. The port of Tema, the port of Lome support landlocked countries in West Africa, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger. And so the efficiency of these ports is important. And so establishing the infrastructure to support the trade corridors is very, very important. Similarly, in Southern Africa or Central Africa, Angola is critical for DRC, and is critical also for Malawi, for Zambia, for countries that are landlocked. And so we have to work with national governments. We have to work with development finance institutions on our continent to make sure that there is enhanced investment in infrastructure. I know that, for example, the president of African Development Bank has told me that they've invested close to $50 billion in infrastructure development in Africa, in ports, in roads. We need more of that. The president of AfCFTA Bank has also told me that they have a very, very strong focus on trade supporting infrastructure. This is really critical for countries that are landlocked. Today, one of our development finance institutions is considering supporting an infrastructure project to build a railway link from Angola, DRC, Zambia, all the way to Tanzania. We need more of that.
Yeah.
At the same time, Egypt has invested money in building over 12,000 kilometers of a trade corridor which will connect North Africa with Southern Africa. We need more of these types of investments. And we have to complement these with soft infrastructure. The payments and settlement system, for example, is soft infrastructure that will ensure that we have expedited transit of goods at a relatively low cost. We want to reduce reliance on third countries when we are trading in Africa. And so with the rollout of the payments and settlement system, you now will be in Accra. You will be able to trade with somebody in Kenya, and you will be using Ghanaian cedi, local currency. And they will also be doing the same thing. They will be trading with you in Kenyan shillings. So we need a complementarity of hard infrastructure and soft infrastructure to boost and enhance trade in Africa.
Yeah, so in that area, if you take some non-tariff barriers like the one that you mentioned earlier regarding the Abidjan-Lagos corridor, about 30 stops thereabout. If you do the one from, say, Tema to Ouagadougou, you have about 54 security checkpoints there. How are you encouraging member countries like Ghana or Togo or Burkina Faso to cut down the number of gendarmerines on the way checking up people, the number of security folks who are checking up people? These are not tariff barriers, but they are certainly not tariff barriers that are affecting these landlocked countries.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And that is why we have to work hard to make sure that we have a balance for security concerns. Countries that are worried about terrorism, that are worried about illicit trading of arms and weapons and so on. Balance that also with the need for efficient transit of goods. And so this effort that we have embarked on the Abidjan-Lagos corridor will help us to streamline processes to make sure that we have a balance between efficiency of transit and taking into account security concerns that countries have. So it's going to take time. I don't want to give you the impression that these things will happen overnight.
Yeah.
They will not.
Yeah.
It will take time before 3-4 years before we can see a more efficient transit. It is not normal that between Abidjan and Lagos there are 37 checkpoints, and that a distance of 1,200 kilometers takes up to 15 days for goods to transit. It's not normal. So we have to find a way that will help us to achieve efficiency, competitiveness, boosting trade, at the same time adhering to security protocols. And this is something that we will work on with the governments across all corridors on the continent, not just this corridor, but across all corridors. This is something that we will work on with governments.
Good you touch on security, because if you take a look at the entire year, we've seen quite a number of insecurity situations, particularly within West Africa. We've had about 2 coup attempts, and we've had sanctions imposed on about 2 countries thereabout.
Instability and insecurity negatively impacts on regional trade. And the people that suffer the most are the informal traders, the cross-border traders. When these types of instabilities happen, the African Union has been abundantly clear, has condemned unconstitutional takeover of power, has condemned conflicts and instability that arise, incidents of instability that arise from that. And so the African Union is clear. There's no tolerance for these types of instability. There can be no trade where there is no peace. There can be no trade where there is instability. And so it's very important that if we want to achieve our objectives of boosting intra-Africa trade, the right on the ground, the right conditions have to exist. I know that also the president of Ghana, President Akufo-Addo, has been very firm, as chairman of ECOWAS, very, very firm in condemning the incidents of instability that we've seen in the past 2 years or so in ECOWAS. And he has provided very, very strong leadership to make sure that, these incidents do not happen, and that where they do happen, that a firm action is taken. So I think that we will have to continue to work hard to make sure that these incidents of instability are limited. Okay. We will never be able to eliminate them, but we have to make sure that, that we limit incidents of instability so that we can have peace, so that we can have trade.
You speak to those within free zones, within special economic zones, and some way, somehow they feel that they are not too involved within the AfCFTA. Is the AfCFTA integrating special economic zones, and what important role are they supposed to play within the AfCFTA?
Special economic zones are critical. We had a meeting 2 months ago in Libreville, in Gabon. First of its kind, a forum on special economic zones and the AfCFTA. We invited economic operators who are present in special economic zones. We invited policymakers from ministries of trade or ministries of export promotion. And we had a very frank discussion about the role of special economic zones in Africa and in the context of the AfCFTA. Many governments across the continent have invested millions of dollars in special economic zones. Special economic zones contribute to Africa's industrialization. We see quite a lot of ingenuity that comes out of special economic zones. There's research and development that countries have invested in research and development that is undertaken in special economic zones across the African continent. And so we have to find a way to integrate goods that are produced in special economic zones, to integrate them into the AfCFTA market. Some countries are concerned that goods that are produced in special economic zones have an added advantage because of the tax exemptions and other types of exemptions. But the reality is this: we accept goods coming from special economic zones from other parts of the world. We accept them, we import them, and we don't say that this is causing distortion in the local market. And yet we do not want to accept goods from special economic zones in Africa. I see this as an anomaly.
Because the ones that we are importing from outside are not enjoying special incentives, but under the AfCFTA, the goods may be enjoying incentives under the special economic zones, and they will still be enjoying incentives under the AfCFTA.
Well, the goods that are produced in special economic zones outside of the continent already have an underlying enjoyment of preferences, whether it is tax exemptions. So already, by virtue of the fact that they are produced in a special economic zone in country X outside of the African continent, places them in a relative position of advantage. The argument that I'm making is that we accept those goods from third countries, but we don't want to accept goods from African countries who have the same preferences. So we want to make sure that this anomaly is corrected. Okay. That's why we are working with governments. That's why we convened in Libreville 2 months ago to make sure that we find a way of integrating these goods into the mainstream AfCFTA market so that they can be as competitive as goods coming from special economic zones from other parts of the world.
How do we deal with concerns that have been raised by people that if we are not careful, AfCFTA may breed some level of unscrupulous activities where people would want to bring goods from third party states and then bring them into party states and repackage them and say that they are indeed coming from the continent, they are originating from the continent. How do we deal with this?
Well, the risk of transshipment will always be there in trade agreements. The key question is, what tools do you have in place to mitigate that risk? We have rules of origin, and our rules of origin are the threshold for value addition for made in Africa is very high. We don't want somebody to bring in a shirt, put a button on it, and say made in AfCFTA. We want to make sure that there's real value addition in Africa. And so the rules of origin that we have adopted are very stringent and are very clear on that. So that's the tool that we have to use to mitigate this risk of transshipment. It also means that we have to work very closely with customs authorities.
Yeah.
We have actually been meeting with them regularly, customs authorities, because they are the ones who have to enforce the rules of origin. They are the ones who have to keep out goods that are not supposed to enjoy preferences in the AfCFTA. We have a shared and a common vision with customs authorities about this important priority of fighting transshipment of goods.
I can, on top of my head, remember that we have PAPs, for instance, commencing in 6 West African countries, the WAMSI countries, for instance. The dispute settlement mechanism, for instance. I've seen you have the first regional economic communities, heads of regional economic communities meetings and all of that. What, in your view, are the top successful stories that you can tell?
The Pan-African Payments and Settlement System certainly is a big success story. It will save Africa $5 billion worth of costs of currency convertibility. It will make trade in Africa more efficient, more competitive, and affordable, and accessible to small, medium enterprises in particular. We will be launching the Pan-African Payments and Settlement System here in Ghana on the 13th of January next year.
Okay.
It's a very important achievement. As you mentioned, the dispute settlement mechanism and operationalizing it is very important. We want to express a commitment to Africans, to African business people, that we are committed to the rule of trade law. Where a dispute arises in the context of trade, cross-border trade, the AfCFTA rules will be applied. And the dispute settlement mechanism and its operationalization is specifically for that purpose. So it's a tremendous success. We are also on the verge of announcing operationalization of the AfCFTA Adjustment Fund, a fund of about $1.5 billion, which is intended to help countries that will experience short-term revenue losses as they reduce or eliminate tariffs. And so this is an important step. And also, we are also working very closely with AfreximBank to establish a $1 billion facility for industrialization and development of the auto sector in Africa, so that all our countries, those who have an interest in the auto sector, they have the necessary financial support to establish those value chains. So we have had tremendous successes. And then I would also include in that list of successes rules of origin.
Okay.
We have close to 8,000 products that are traded under international trade law, under the World Customs Organization system. Close to 8,000 products. We, as Africans, previously, West Africa, East Africa, had different rules of origin for all of these products. We now have convergence on 87.6% rules of origin on all of those products. That's a remarkable achievement, because what it suggests, what it says, is that you will, from next year onwards, you will be able to say, I'm interested in exporting this product, and you will know with certainty what rule of origin is applicable. In other words, what is the local content requirement? the customs procedures that are applicable. This is also another area of success. So we have a long way to go, but I believe we've made a very, very good start this year.
Did you say by next year we should know the rules of origin for all these goods that you talked about?
We will publish them early next year.
Early next year?
Early next year, we will publish what we call the AfCFTA Tariff Book, which includes the rules of origin. It will also include the reduction of tariffs over a period of time. We will publish this on our website. And so a trader anywhere in Africa will be able to identify a product and be able to see what rule of origin is applicable, what value addition has to be made to that product so that it becomes an AfCFTA product, as well as knowing the tariff that is applicable and when the tariff will be reduced to zero, which we have now begun reducing tariffs over a transition period, equal installments over the next few years. So this AfCFTA tariff book is very, very important for that purpose, for transparency, so that Africans can see that we're working towards something, and that for customs procedures purposes, there will be certainty and predictability of the market.
So we're looking at the first quarter, for instance, of 2022?
We will present it to the heads of states in February. The heads of states will adopt it in February, and we will then publish it after the heads of states have adopted the AfCFTA tariff book.
This does being the concern of a lot of businesses and folks on the continent has been the publication of tariff offers by party states, and the 90% offers, a lot of people can't see them, they can't find them. And you're saying that we are to get this from next year?
Well, the negotiating process has to first conclude. Once the negotiating process concludes, then you know that there's finality of what the state parties have agreed to. So you can publish what they've agreed to, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to publish the tariff book, the AfCFTA tariff book, so traders will know with certainty what product, what rules of origin are applicable, what is the tariff, the duty that is applicable, what are the customs procedures that are applicable. We will have this early next year.
What percentage, though, are we with the rules of origin?
We are now at 87.6%.
87.6%. At what rate can we start trading?
We will start trading on the basis of that 87.6%.
Oh, good.
Which is a very substantive starting point. The WTO, the threshold at the WTO is 75%.
I see.
What is referred to as substantially all trade. So we've exceeded, but we want to get to 97% is where we want to get to, so that 97% of products traded in Africa are traded at zero duty. So now, with the remainder of the rules of origin, we will continue to negotiate convergence on those tariff lines, on those rules, so that we get to 97% duty-free trade in Africa. So
the continent doesn't have to wait for you to get to 90% before we start trading. At 87.6%, as you talked about, we are going to start trading.
Yes, absolutely. On the basis of that, because we cannot wait for a negotiating process. As we mentioned earlier, as we were discussing earlier, across the length and breadth of the continent, Africans are expecting that they should be trading at preferential terms under the AfCFTA. So we cannot tell Africans that, well, we have not yet concluded, let's wait until we get to 100% or 97%. We will publish the AfCFTA tariff book when we get to that point. Certainly, it's not a desirable position to be in. So we will start trading on the basis of what we have achieved thus far.
Would you look at the continent and say that we're likely to start trading?
Yes, starting 2022, absolutely. On the basis of the 87.6%.
The continent will start trading?
The tariff book that we have, that we will publish, absolutely. Absolutely. We have to, the sense of urgency has to be there for all of us. It has to be there for all of us. We need to move very, very rapidly towards integration of the African market.
What do you envision for yourself in the year 2022? Aside what you have just announced, that we are starting trading from 2022, what else should we expect from you and from the Secretariat?
I would like us to have a fully functional payments and settlement system, a fully functional AfCFTA adjustment fund. We will also launch a digital application, a digital app for connectivity of small, medium enterprises. So these are the three main priorities as we go into 2022. And these priorities will provide further impetus to trading under the AfCFTA. And so I believe that if we are able to see a strong uptake of the payments and settlement system, as well as connectivity of small, medium enterprises through the AfCFTA digital app, I think that we will see the results by the end of next year. We will see the results that we want to see.
I've heard you praise your colleagues at the Secretariat quite a lot, and how diverse you are at the Secretariat and all of that. Mm-hmm. Getting into 2022, what structure are we to expect from the Secretariat?
Well, we have the brightest and the best Africans working at the Secretariat from all regions of the African continent. We have a balance between men and women. We have senior women as much as we have senior men. We have French, Portuguese, English speakers, Arabic from Egypt and Mauritania. So we have a truly diverse, talented team of young Africans. We are expecting that heads of states will give us approval rather, to recruit up to 300 officers over a 4-year period. That's something that will be, we will get approval for that from the heads of states early next year. But we are building a truly diverse, brightest and the best team of young Africans who are there to serve the continent and to make sure that, that we are as competitive as Secretariat as any other international Secretariat. So I'm very proud to have all of these colleagues with us at the Secretariat.
What would you say to them, the colleagues that you have there, having gone through the entire year, and with the kind of praises that you have showered on them as far as the support they have given to you? I've also heard you say quite a lot about Ghana. It would be interesting to know how you found Ghana so far, about 7 or 8 months since you've been around.
I would say to my colleagues that a job well done this year. It's been a difficult year, but we have achieved a lot of success. I will say to them, rest for the next over the next 2 weeks, because next year will be even more hard work coming our way. The expectations are very, very high. And so we have to keep improving. We have to keep seeking for better perfection at what we do. And that's what I expect of my colleagues, and that's what I expect of myself. Ghana has been a gracious host to the Secretariat. We have support from the Minister of Trade, Minister Alain Thierry Martin. We have support of the President himself. We have support of the business community here. And so I don't think that we could have asked for a better host than Ghana. It's been a truly wonderful experience to live and to work here in Accra.
Your partners, development partners, folks or institutions and countries that have worked with you, you've had the Angola AfCFTA Business Investment Forum, we've had the South African president coming around and all of that. What would you say to them?
Well, we have a very good working relationship with all governments. We have, our ambition is to make sure that we position the entire continent as an investment destination, not just this country or that country. but through the establishment of value chains, that it is clear that the entire continent is open for business and investment. We will host more of these country-specific investment and business forums next year. As you mentioned, Angola was the first one. We will have more going forward, and I believe that it is critical that we position the continent as a market, as an integrated market. Yes, of course, individual countries will benefit, but we are presenting a market of 1.3 billion people with a combined GDP of $3.4 trillion. So it's important that we focus on the investment proposition that our continent has to make, not only to foreign investors, but also to African investors for intra-Africa investment.
So at 87.6% negotiated rules of origin, the continent of Africa is going to start trading from the year 2022, coming from the AfCFTA Secretariat Secretary General, His Excellency WAMKELE MENE. Next year will definitely be busy. Somebody will say, and as my big sister Grace Koza has always been saying, the honeymoon is over. Next year, action and action, and you can only trust this platform to bring you all of that details. So this week we are not showing any of our entrepreneurs or innovators because we have put all of them together, those that we have highlighted in the year 2021 so far, all of them together, and we will bring that to you next week. We will also be hearing from the International Chamber of Commerce on how all these entrepreneurs, innovators, can take advantage of the international business market, particularly the continental business market, regarding their intellectual property rights, what they need to know about that, and basic things, how to connect with their partners in other African countries and all of that. All of that will come your way in the omnibus, the overall omnibus, next week when it comes to our entrepreneurs and innovators. Coming up next, the weather report as well as the flight schedules for all African cities coming from the commercial capital of Africa, as well as the forex rate for the African market and the AfCFTA membership status for all party states next. Now, let me express immense gratitude to some individuals and institutions who have supported us thus far since July that we began this journey to bring you every action around the vision of the continent of Africa to integrate its market to you, particularly the Ghana Meteorological Agency. Mr. Potofe is there together with the entire team. They've been bringing the continental weather report to all of us. Also, the Ghana Airport Company Limited, Mr. Kuntu is there together with his team there. They have been bringing you the flight schedules for the entire continent, the African cities that you've been watching on the screens there. We have to say a big thank you to the Ministry of Trade and Industry, headed by the Minister over the Honorable Alan Kwejo Chiremating. Also, the Ministry of Information, headed by the Minister there, Honorable Kujo Opong Nkrumah. We say a big thank you to the individuals as well as the institutions, the ministries, for supporting us thus far to bring you every action around this whole vision. Also, the AfCFTA Secretariat itself. Now, this is where all the action is headed by His Excellency WAMKELE MENE, always there to let you know what is happening as far as this whole dream is concerned. The entire communications team at the AfCFTA Secretariat, awesome people. They get the job done easy. Everything you see on the screens there, they make it happen. They make it happen for you, headed by Madam Grace Koza, my own sister Besua Douna Hammond, Elidora, and the entire team at the Secretariat. They make a lot of things happen. Also, our proud associate for this program and for the past year, hosted by the International Chamber of Commerce. They make everything happen when it comes to the single African market. The Business for Peace Foundation, also UNECA, and let me say a big thank you to UNDP as well as GIZ. They have been our backbone to make the program a success thus far. Next year is going to be bigger. We will be everywhere to show you how implementation is going to be done. We will probably upgrade to give you the opportunities to live interact with the persons who are supposed to give you responses to all the issues and difficulties that you face. Thank you for watching this last edition for 2021 Single African Market. I'll see you same time next year. In the name of great Africa, it's a fight and